Hello everyone, and welcome to the LightBringers Guild Wars 2 podcast. Today we will be talking about elite specializations in End of Dragons. We don't know what they are. We don't know when they are. But they will be in the game at some point. Today we're going to talk about 3 elite specializations from classes. The classes will be Guardian, Necro, and Thief. So if you don't like those classes, you may not enjoy the show, but I encourage you to watch or listen, because no doubt there will be shenanigans that occur, because they already have occurred, and they will already be beginning, and they began already. We have some amazing guests with us today, and I've got people around the wrong way, so you're going to have to forgive me while I switch them around.
Well, this is to be Kroof, isn't it?
I want to be Kroof today. I need a hat.
This chest is just so amazing.
You look great.
Kroof is just so radiant and majestic.
And Jebro
Shenanigans.
my name again.
Did I? Oh yeah, that's true. Actually, it was a quick change around. Look at that. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Wait, so
I
how do you
almost
spell
said
boots?
it's like butts but boots. It's like butts but boots.
Mm-hmm. I think there was it was either for Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire. I had some video in like the presentation they had for like before it came out for Guild Wars 2. ArenaNet had somebody come on, and I think the guy who they hired to do the presentations that day called me either bots or butts. I forget which.
Yeah, because it wasn't sure, because you've got 2 T's in there. If you're going to confuse people with double T, then you have to accept it. Like sometimes.
Why didn't you just change your name to Butts after that? I would have been like, this is the new brand.
I think everyone did call me that for a little while, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's lovely, though.
Oh no. It's good though. Butts are good.
We're going to do a very quick intro.
Wonderful.
We're going to do a quick intro for the peeps. Bird Chess, what do you do when you do it? How you doing? And yes, I'm not going to ask an elongated question because today is a little bit more time sensitive.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Butts of Chess, and it's Bird of Chess. Butts of Chess. We have a lot of things happening already. No, my name is Bird of Chess, aka Rook. Usually, feel free to just call me Rook. That's what I go by. But you can find me doing variety MMO content with a focus on Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy 14 and Guild Wars 2 over on my channel, as well as over on YouTube now, Twitter, all the places, pretty much at Bird of Chess. I'm about all sorts of diversity and inclusion in the community. We help do learning progression rating, and in all of our games are very much loud-spoken activists and lovers of people in all their different shades, forms, shapes, anything, gender, sexualities, all that good stuff. So we try to spread a lot of positivity wherever we go, and also have good critical discussions while we do.
Yeah, Better Chess, real positive person, everyone. Just saying.
At least that's what you see on camera.
So nice before the stream.
So sarcastic, Jebro. Oh my gosh, Jeb's just salty because I was teasing him.
I am actually joking. Anyone listening or watching, that was a joke. That is very true. Yes, I'm always happy and glad to have Bird of Chess here on the stream.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Jeb. Please don't kick me off after this one. I want to come back again someday.
It's okay. No, you'll probably be back, I guess. Kroof. Kroof, hello. All the things. Where,
Hi.
how, and why?
What I do is I wake up and every day I make my dad really, really proud of me. But most importantly, I make myself proud of myself. And in addition to that, I make videos on YouTube about Guild Wars 2 and many other things. Sometimes. And sometimes I even stream on Twitch here at Kroof Gaming. But overall, I just aim to have a really fun time, talk with people, get to connect with humans, and share all of our stories and our passions and, things that make life a little bit more exciting and, fun to go through together. So thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. It's always a blast. House of Crow represents.
And then finally, we have Boots with a double T and a double O.
I am Boots, and I make videos on YouTube about Guild Wars 2.
There we go. An amazing intro.
Period.
Does loads
The
of stuff.
end.
On YouTube, it's yes, you do. I mean, that's not a lie. Sometimes with Wooden Potatoes, sometimes with other people. You're on tons of podcasts. You're on another podcast today, as well, and a second one later. So we're lucky to get Boots. Boots is very busy. Busy Boots.
Busy butts.
Busy butts.
Busy butts are good butts. That's all I'm
My
gonna say.
butt's been very busy. I'm working out a whole lot now.
Okay. The working out was the additional thing we needed there. It's okay. So anyway. Oh God.
Don't regret this. Don't regret this. This is magic right
I'm just
here.
wondering why I bother. No,
I mean, I'm really proud of you and everything that you're accomplishing, Kroof. Great job. Get it. Do it. Also, Boots, very proud of you as well. You undersold yourself so much. You're like, yeah, I just make videos on YouTube. But your videos are amazing and great.
And
fantastic.
I'm so proud of you.
You guys are the best.
I'm just proud of all of you.
Oh my God, you guys are the best.
And chat, I'm proud of you. And don't forget it.
And listeners and watchers later on.
Yes. And you in the future.
And you in the future.
Jebra's okay too.
In the present.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jebra's all right. We're okay. We're proud of you too, I guess.
He's very sweaty.
See, I was horrible. Okay, yes. There will be a slight glisten. If you want to come watch the video, there's going to be a slight glistening occurring during the stream. If I blind you, I do apologize. So we do have, this is episode 16, and we are coming up to End of Dragons, talking about, well, the 27th of July, they're going to be talking about the expansion. Whether or not they talk about Elite Specializations, bloody hope so. But if they don't, it's going to be deep sadness, because that's probably one of the things that most people care about the most. But also, sorry, I should talk for myself. I am very excited about that stuff, but I know people are excited about it as well. So what we're doing is, I didn't want to do this too early. I wanted to do it in the kind of, I guess, like almost the month leading up to it, and seeing it is the 25th today, I was like, oh yeah, let's start doing that. We can do 3 each week. And then the next week, well, every 2 weeks, hopefully we might have to fit a few more in into future shows. It might have to be a bit longer. We're going to do Guardian, Necro, and Thief today. First of all, we're going to talk about Guardian. We have, obviously, Rook's main class is a Guardian as well, and so is Kroof's, and Boots just plays everything like I do, and Guardian is one of my main ones as well, and so we all know a lot about Guardian. I play a lot of Necro as well. I'm pretty sure that Kroof does, and I'm not sure about Boots and Bird Chest too much, but Thief is probably one of my weaker classes, but I know we all kind of have a little bit of expertise in all the things, and it's just fun to talk about the stuff, and it doesn't necessarily mean this is what's going to be in there. You don't have to take our suggestions and ideas and everything too seriously. It's mostly for fun, and also for the fact that, you know, maybe some of this could be a thing which could come up.
I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about exactly what's going to be in there.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yes,
yeah, everything. We have all of the knowledge,
and also we're definitely early in development of End of Dragons. I think they're like just starting to make the elite specs probably, so they're gonna take all of our suggestions and ideas and incorporate them into the game.
Yeah. We're going to send this directly to ArenaNet as a list of demands. So
you guys missed that forum post that said we're now starting on elite specs. Give your ideas.
Yeah. I think that's the July 27th is what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've already filmed it. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start with Guardian. Okay, so this is gonna be an interesting one, because I think I wanted to start a kind of like what is this class missing kind of thing, to be like, to kind of narrow it down a bit. Like, so we've got our ideas of what we'd like with weapon and stuff like that, but like when you're playing your kind of Guardian, I guess Rook, we're gonna start with you. What is it that you feel like you maybe is missing in the content that you're playing? Maybe whether or not it's raids, or whether or not, is it missing anything? Is it jack of all trades? Is it missing anything you can think of specifically? You know, is there some fun thing maybe? I don't know.
I was gonna wait if you kept spinning. Yeah, I was like, we're just let Jen spin and keep going and going and going.
I'm just gonna stop talking.
No, you're good. You're doing great.
Sentence.
No, I mean, there's definitely gaps in Guardian, I think. I mean, a lot of times you see power builds. You see, if you go Firebrand, you've got the supporter Condi. I mean, there are some things where you might get more of the defensive skills that are used. I think I've seen them used in World versus World sometimes and things like that with Sword Shield. But I kind of want there to be some sort of true actual tank class for them, or like something that lends itself more to that actual kind of paladin-esque fantasy that I thought Guardian was selling to me from the beginning. And I love the creative ways that the class has kind of re-envisioned different things. I think Firebrand is so unique, and I've just been actually really learning it and doing it in raids recently, which has been really fun. And I adore it. It's like one of my favorites now, but I would love to see something that actually gave us like another tank that can be used kind of like Chronomancer or other things so that poor Chronos can get out of Chrono jail, and that would let you kind of live that more defensive, or, I mean, we do boons on Firebrand, but just something that would feel more like it's that, I don't know, holy defender. Does that make sense?
I agree. I do really
So something
agree.
that actually can be a tank, you're saying, in a raid, perhaps?
Yeah. I think that'd be fun. Even if they did something unique with, I mean, some sort of way that, I don't know, an ability that let you actually direct aggro or something. That would be kind of interesting, but I'm sorry, I've stopped. No more. I'm done. That's the theme, and I'm sticking to it.
We're getting to that. It's the missing. So what Rook is saying, a defensive kind of, so like a guard, like a paladin kind of defensy. Interesting. Yeah, because the different modes, depending on which mode you play, that's very much a thing it has in PvP. But if in PvE and stuff like that, and in raids, and I guess when I think about it, it's more of a, it's not so much even of a shield, like a shielding thing, but a lot of it is self stuff. And it's, I guess Aegis is a block, I guess in terms of like, it's boons rather than physical things that you can see, I guess, as well. But then I guess I think of Wall of Reflection and stuff like that. Guardian is a difficult one because I think it kind of tries to tries to throw everything in to the point where you're just like, Dragon Hunter is very defined. It's damage.
I love Dragon Hunter for that reason.
You can't be a healer as a Dragon Hunter. I mean, you can, but it's not good. You wouldn't want to do it. What's the point? There is no point because there's no healing traits. There's nothing defensive really other than longbow 3 making that stab, like, and in one of the trait lines. There's nothing really other than maybe slow on traps and stuff. There's nothing. It's very, very defined. So, but like, you know, core wise, you know, it's got virtues, it's got loads of stuff where you can be very, very defensive. It's interesting though. I kind of get that. I mean, what do you think about that, Creve? Sorry. Is there, or do you think anything else? Is there anything else missing as well in addition to that?
In terms of addition, as we've said, core has always allowed most of the professions to kind of at least hit each play style. And with the elite specializations, it allowed them to focus in on that one particular. I love Dragon Hunter for that reason. It had a purity of damage, long range damage and close range.
That's a purity of purpose.
Yeah, flat strike damage. Firebrand, as the community has recently, you know, come to talk about, especially on Reddit, it's kind of hit so many things that it's like, where do we go from here? But I would agree with Rook that the only real area that I haven't seen the specialization focus on would be something more tank-like, something more about controlling the battlefield, maybe, you know, using more of the wards or the consecration, something where, you know, we can really expand upon these existing ideas within the Guardian about creating walls and rings and things to entrap people.
So a kind of control-y aspect.
Yeah, and I think that would work in PvP very well, and World versus World could possibly get annoying depending on how they go with it or if that ever came to be. But in terms of PvE, you often think of the more classic taunt way to like get aggro and all that stuff. So maybe if they decided to split, you know, they would probably have to go with one or the other. But, you know, they have areas they can go in, especially with the themes of the Guardian.
Okay. Boots?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Kroof about the way Firebrand addressed a lot of the things that might have been missing with Guardian before it came out. Like, basically, when before Path of Fire came out, I was like, okay, I have this Condi Guardian build that uses Core Guardian, and the only thing it's missing is one more Condi line. And then the Firebrand came out, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I needed. But then also they brought back the tomes that were missing from Guardian at the same time, and therefore gave Firebrand so much support with it as well. And so at this point, like the first two things I wrote when you asked this question down was nothing. It doesn't need anything else. So I feel like what it can do now is give us an elite spec that is a lot more theme based. That it doesn't need to fill any particular role anymore, so they could just have fun with it. I said maybe Guardian needs a little something that gives them a few more movement skills because it's kind of a little slow as a class.
Well, it's slow for sure on Firebrand. At least I felt that difference. I could agree though, because it does seem like with Dragon Hunter, I feel as though I have many more things that I can use to kind of get around. Although you can't always like put in, some of the other abilities. Leap. Yeah. You
got a port with your sword and with the
Judge's Intervention.
Judge's Intervention, yeah.
You have 2 ports. Yeah.
So it's pretty good. But you can get better. I mean, if we really want Guardian to be the jack of all trades.
Oh my God, it does not need to.
Oh, if you want it to be.
It would be kind of fun.
Be stripped down a bit.
Okay.
So, honed in.
I think so. I like kind of the whole Chronomancer idea that you're combining all of your stuff together. So like Rick's talking about the Chrono jail kind of thing. I like the idea of maybe that. I think I like the control aspect of that, and when you're talking about like a guard, like a Templar or anything like that, or maybe like a more holy kind of thing, I guess. Like if you're thinking about so some history, Guild Wars, why they didn't bring Guardian is basically monk, right? The reason they didn't want to have like tank specs, and I found I think Obi found this icon, and I've seen it before. I've talked to the devs, but like John Peters is on this as well, so it's pretty good source. Talking about why they didn't want to call the Guardian a monk, because they didn't want to have the idea that you have a healer specifically in the game, and that is the base class. Because they didn't want to have roles. Like they never wanted to have roles. They never did. Because raids, they didn't want it to be a thing. Dungeons, they didn't want people to have to specifically be a main role, even if they just wanted to. They didn't want to limit people in a way. So it doesn't mean that they can't then bring these other things from from monk specifically in, even though it's kind of already in there. And I think people were talking about how Paragon as well from Guild Wars, there's a lot of stuff from Paragon as well. So they combine a lot of stuff. So whether or not they bring a lot more stuff from, these classes from Guild Wars is another thing to think about. But control, I like that idea of putting some control in there, because if I think about it, there isn't really much control. The only real control is things like, line of ordering from staff, or like the third skill in the fire tome on Firebrand, and
you get a lot of walls and consecrations and stuff like that. You could get a lot of control from that.
There is, but
but I would like to see more interesting things.
Yeah,
like I would like to see something where you strike one person and it kind of locks them and takes them out of the fight for like 3 seconds on a very lengthy cooldown. But something where it's like you really start to control the battlefield without necessarily doing a whole lot of damage. Not necessarily
one target, because I guess then Scepter is like a thing you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. But then that's one person, I guess.
Yeah, I do love.
Like they can't do anything for 3 seconds.
I do love
Wow.
Yeah, like those classes that allow you in like unique ways to, like you're saying, control the field or kind of block off various areas. Like it's really satisfying to me, the abilities that we have sometimes with certain healers or things, right? Where like projectiles that are going through might get absorbed, or things like that, where you kind of get to more strategically place certain things around or do certain things to this group or that group. Like, I think it's so fun. And I would love to see them maybe lean more into that, because you get little snippets of it, and there's some classes that I think have more of it, but it's not necessarily like the bulk of what you see any class do, which would be pretty fun.
I think, you know what, when you said it should have some sort of like clear tank role, I like that idea, and I think that basically every trait line in Guardian has some sort of interaction with Aegis, because Aegis is a Guardian's deal, right?
I mean, it's part of its class, yeah.
It's part of its class.
It's like it's
Guardian, Aegis are synonymous.
Yeah.
I think I would be really interested. Oh wait, we're moving on to theme, aren't we?
I think we could probably do that because we are on. We just talked it. I think I was just going to add maybe what I think is missing.
What do you think, Jabra?
Yeah, what do you think, Jabra?
Well, I mean, in Guild Wars 2, and when you think about what's missing, I go straight to boons, especially when I'm thinking about PvP and raiding. Alacrity is something that is missing.
But remember when Alacrity was supposed to be a Mesmer only thing?
It definitely shouldn't be. Definitely shouldn't be. All classes should have access to these things, but in different ways. You can play whatever. But Alacrity, I know you're joking. So Alacrity, I guess, in a way, like in a supportive, offensive way, and it's got quickness, I guess, with Firebrand. But then if you add Alacrity through another trait line, then you take away quickness. But now you've got quickness on Scrapper. And maybe you can have quickness from someone else in the elite specs, and maybe Guardian could be an Alacrity thing as an extra option with like the control. So you could add like a chronomancer-y kind of role or theme to the Guardian, and then you can have another option. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of what Rook was saying with like the chrono.
But I mean, that's what Rev has that with.
And Rev,
right
yeah,
now.
Rev does have that now, so that's good.
Yeah. I think that every class needs some sort of way to do that kind of thing, have some kind of unique buff or alacrity or quickness to bring to a raid scenario. But I think only one of their elite specs need to do one of those things, as long as it's viable and works well in a raid scenario.
Agreed. I agree.
So I don't. So I was just gonna say, I don't think that necessarily a new elite spec for Guardian needs alacrity or a unique buff, because it has Firebrand already.
Yeah.
I would agree. Because I don't think alacrity makes a tank. I think there are other ways.
Oh, no, yeah. I'm just saying, like, what is missing specifically? Like, what is...
But in the community, I feel like that's kind of the general consensus, at least depending on the encounters that are designed. That's another big thing that could, like, change all of this. But,
I mean, you don't have
what you were saying.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, like, I agree. I think it's about the type of encounters and fights that we have, as well as the variety of options that we have. You know, like, Firebrand came out, and everybody's like, well, it kind of did everything else that Guardian couldn't do. And yet, you can't help but wonder, like, as they keep, and as we know new expansions are coming out, and we're theorizing that elite specs are going to be added as well, it's like, well, is it possible that they take something from other elite specs and they're like, we're going to, dovetail this off and now create an elite spec that focuses specifically on this thing, because we have more options. So it's not like players are trying to fill a million gaps with just like the two classes that they have that they can branch out into.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could easily, I think, do something like that. But I do agree that I think it'd be fun to see them personally just kind of dive more into that, and maybe even redefine a little bit if we get more raid content or PvE content or strike missions or fractals or whatever they're going to do. It's fine however they want to re-envision it. But like, it would be really cool to see them maybe redefine some of those fights, or even with these new elite specs, bring some other things in that allow us other options outside of alacrity or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about like, okay, so we're on a theme of, so can we all agree maybe like a kind of, I mean, we don't have to. You can have your own theme.
I disagree, just for the sake of it.
Kreef made a video, which is I can post it in the chat as well. I'm going to do that actually because it was good. It's very good. You should go and watch it.
Oh, you know, it'd be good. Okay,
Monk,
so
which I'm going to post. Go on.
On that note, it would be cool if, besides alacrity and quickness, that every class. I think it would be cool if every class had their own unique buff. So, like spotter, like assassin's presence, like pinpoint precision.
Yeah.
Guardian does have that technically with the way that they share their signet passives.
Oh, okay. I have toughness as well, the shield thing.
They have toughness as well, but they have. I mean, but I think the only people. Yeah, it's not very useful. But they can share their strength signet passive and give a lot more power or condition damage, for example. The only problem is there aren't that many good builds that can incorporate that. If they can make an elite spec that somehow will allow you to build signets into the build and make it work in a raid scenario where you get your elite spec buff. Well, with a unique buff, you don't have to put in a new elite, new elite unique buff. You could use your old unique buff, but somehow incorporate it.
Well, didn't talk about this either. Like, what utilities are they missing? They've got signets, they've got shards, they've got, they've got the other bits and bobs. Like, what are they missing? They're missing, I guess you could say they're missing gyros.
Gyros?
I mean, I'm not sure about a Guardian with gyros. That'd be weird. But
gyros?
Like a kit that...
Can we get some euros, please? I'm hungry.
But
well, if they're going to be monks, maybe they're missing physical skills.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I can see that.
Warrior,
for a monk,
physical
I had cantrips.
Skills? Cantrips? I mean, cantrips?
I gave them cantrips because I like spell stuff and I want kind of like a spelly guardian. So
I could say, I was actually thinking that too. I was like either tank or something that, I mean, again, would have, I guess, something closer to defensive cooldowns, but like ones that would somehow make a big impact. You know what I mean? Or something like the walls or something that could be that. Or I had thought some kind of really strong, like magic-y element would be fun as well.
So that reminds me of what I was trying to say before we got Jebro to weigh in. The Aegis. Aegis is in every line, basically, in Guardian. They pump out a lot of Aegis. If we could get an elite spec that somehow transforms Aegis into something or changes its functionality in some way.
Yeah.
Maybe their elites, the 3 Grandmaster traits do something different to Aegis. That could be interesting.
That'd be super cool. I'd love that. Yeah.
What, turn it into what? You can turn it into another boon, or you can turn it into like an activated thing, or
an activated thing, something, an extra thing that happens when it gets activated. Something, like if you have Aegis on you, certain things happen. You have different selections. I don't know. I'm not a good designer. I'm only a exploiter.
I mean, I think that sounds like great design. That'd be cool. Like you activate it or you have it on and then it affects other things, or like maybe you can even, I just always liked the visual personally of, Guardians when you get that like spectral shield that appears over your arm. They could even do stuff where that morphs or changes, or you have similar things with that where it's like allowing you different abilities. Are we talking about themes? Are we officially there, or are we?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I was just looking. I was looking at the different stuff because I'm thinking about like because in the as we've gone into like the expansions, mantras is something Firebrand has got, and obviously, and then traps. So Guardian so far has taken utilities from other classes that have already existed in the game. So I'm wondering whether or not I'm thinking about everything utilities. I'm thinking about heals.
I think they like doing that just because that they have the runes that that affect certain skill types. So the more you
are they going to keep going with that? Do you think? Do you think they would keep going?
As long as they can make it work. Yeah, I think they would.
I could see like a cantrip, a physical. I mean, they just introduced preparations on Thief. Give that to another class. Doesn't have to be Guardian, but
absolutely.
Ranger probably for preparations.
So I think they're going to keep. I think that's going to be a big feature. Actually, I think that could be.
I don't think they're really doing new utility types. I feel like they have so many utility types, so many runes already.
It's thematic. Right? Like
like for Scourge, I could see punishment. It's a bit more on theme.
I don't think gyros is going to be a thing though for anyone.
Yeah, they turned gyros into wells.
Because they're wells. Yeah, they are wells. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They're wells now. So like that's the thing. They're going to be definitely, even if they do bring something like that in, it's going to be based off of a utility that we currently have in the game. That's a good point, Griff. Actually, yes, very good.
I kind of like the idea. There's a few that have been like bouncing around in my head as far as themes.
Crossover to themes, yes. Do it.
but I think this kind of transitions into it. We were talking about runes and things like that. There are in other games this idea of like a rune knight or something like that, which I think could be really interesting for maybe Guardian if they did something where like Runekeeper or something where you could use runes, or maybe I don't know how they could do interactions with your gear, but that would be cool.
Imagine, if you had
if you are wearing a cape, gain X function.
Yeah, like if you had certain runes slotted, that would be so fascinating. I mean, it would be like really different, but like if you had certain runes slotted on different gear, like maybe that would affect various things. I don't know.
Double
That would be Weaver on
bonuses.
steroids. That would be such a complicated web of abilities and everything.
I mean, it would, but part of me's kind of into it. I don't know. I mean, I would be a nightmare to design, so I don't think they'd go that complex, but I could see it kind of fitting into some of the other themes. Like it's a paladin or something like that was one that I thought about, some kind of holy knight or things within that regard. And I've also been over here pushing for some kind of official like champion, which would be maybe a bit of a nod to Oreen's power or something. I think it would be really neat if, you know, like rather
Dragon
than
Hunter to Dragon Champion.
Yes, like Dragon Champion would be so cool. And you could maybe, if we're talking about like creating areas of denial or things, you could summon like crystals or like spectral crystal walls or things, or like maybe if you swapped into something else, you could like shoot crystals. I don't know. I just think it'd be fun. And I would probably play it all the time, always, forever. So
create line of sight. That'd be very interesting in PvP.
We'll have like mixing the weapon with this as well, with the theme, so I can kind of move this on. But like mixing in the so think about the weapon, think about the F1 skills, and I guess we thought about the role, but like, go on, Boots, you got an idea?
Well, it would have to be Rook for Dragon Champion. I don't know what the weapon would be for that.
I actually was thinking like the chat is saying like lances or something like that, or I mean, I could see them doing a couple different things. A spear. I've always loved the aesthetic of like a spear or a halberd. I think
they
they're
already
so
have spears
cool
in the game, so
yeah, they're neat. And like maybe your abilities, like I don't know if you swept your halberd or something, it could create underneath you like crystals, or you could like that'd be neat. I'd be down for that.
I love that.
Like an Iceman.
Like wouldn't that be cool?
Like an Iceman.
I just think it'd be excited.
So you're talking about Iceman right now. Wait a minute.
I want to be like Iceman, but dragon crystal version.
Like a dragoon, but like
actually,
crystals.
Yeah,
that is
and they
not
can take
ridiculous, because like having a theme of like
not ridiculous.
No.
Well, Rook, for once, your idea.
No.
Down on Earth.
Usually just humor.
No. The reason I'm thinking about
We
this
can
is
handle Boots in his face, but Rook, my God.
No, Boots is sorry. Boots is talking about boons, right? And you're thinking about, you know, each class has a boon. If you think about a condition and what the class has, you think of Guardian of having like burning, because that's the main condition they do.
Conditions.
And they don't. Well, I am as well, but this is quite cool because this fits in with Rook's thing. Like chill could be a thing, like with the class that they have. Like it could be like
glacial hammer.
Here we go. Yeah.
Hammer.
You could use it as something like, you could even say it's like brand or branded damage or something. You know, like you could repackage it in some way.
You can rebrand it.
You could rebrand it. I mean, you could even go into something like an elementalist thing almost, where you have like either the different crystal weapons you can use, or maybe you're channeling the different dragons. I think I've talked about this before, but you could do like an ice thing, or you could do. I like crystals though.
But you know the necro, you know the scourge utility when you I can't remember what it's called, where you walk faster and behind you there's a trail. Iceman.
Like that, but with Oreen crystals.
But with ice, crystals, and like moving forward, but like it shoots ahead and you go forward and you get swiftness and stability off it.
I'd be down. I'd even be okay like if they took away the second weapon or something, right? And you had different, I don't know, weapon summony kind of things that you could do where you create like a crystal lance and you use that for an attack, and maybe you have something that's more like for your base weapon, or that just be like sword shield, or
like Boots just said, the Conjures. Like,
I never would have thought of that.
Is that what you mean? Kind of like with the what Ellie does with like the shields and stuff, like
yeah. I think it'd be cool to see that kind of variety. I don't know. Just from my own personal standpoint, I think it would fit within the narrative. It would also create an interesting evolution of our perspective in the game, right? That idea, like you said, Dragon Hunter to Dragon Champion, I think is really neat. And it would kind of play into that paladin thing, with the exception of like not serving a holy deity. You're serving your connection to Oreen, which is cool.
I love it. I just realized that there's something on the list of things we should talk about that we haven't included, that you just talked about as an offhand thing. you can't switch weapons. You were saying, right? Like just you could only use one weapon, but then you also have those conjures.
That's what you meant by get rid of the second weapon. Okay, now I'm on track.
And that's a perfect example of what we should be talking about as well for all of these things, which is trade-offs. Remember, they're trying to put trade-offs in every single elite spec now. You remove something away from what your core guardian is, for example, in order to get your elite spec. So for all of these things, we should talk about trade-offs as well.
Well,
like,
you kind of talked about it a bit, like when you're talking about boons, like in using Aegis for something. If you use activate and trigger the Aegis, then you're taking away the defensive part, I guess. So
or
in a way,
perhaps
that's
for
kind
a
of
trade-off,
a thing. It's not a big
you could
trade-off
only
thing.
select one virtue.
Oh,
Interesting.
Do you need to have a trade-off? Do you necessarily need to
I
have a
think
trade-off
it's
if
part
your
of
weapons?
design now. It's part of
I think in terms of design,
I don't know.
it probably is a smarter
is it
route
though?
to go in terms of like creating a specialized elite specialization.
Yeah.
And for Guardian, there's a lot of Aegis. You could do something with Aegis, or they already have really low vitality. So maybe like when you equip this elite spec, you have increased vitality but lower condition damage, or like your burning is half damage and less duration because we're going in the direction of chill. So something, because Guardian has a lot of access to burning already. So I feel like it would kind of clash with the chill and the burning. So, you swap over to more of a chill oriented.
Now that I think about it, to be fair, Guardian, I don't think they've really had the trade-offs because all it does is change the virtues to different virtues. And I guess you're trading for something else.
Yeah.
It's an equal trade. Yeah. It's not a trade.
Yeah.
And they're always, and because the virtues line, it's always been beneficial anyway. So because they only affects the activate of the virtue, it doesn't affect like the actual, like half the time the abilities don't. I mean, they do matter, obviously, but
but then there you go. Maybe your conjures, maybe your virtues oh wait, that's just Firebrand again, isn't it?
Maybe you just don't have virtues, and your virtues go into your utility. But I don't know.
They kind of already like slipped into the tomes and like the kit play style with Guardian. So they could do something else. I think physical skills could be interesting. I'm blanking. Corruptions? Dragon corruptions? We get corruptions on Necromancer, corruptions on Guardian.
So more of a... Okay. All right.
That would be cool. What would we like label that as? I'm trying to think.
Shatterer.
Within there.
What,
Shatterer? Is that what you just said? That'd be baller.
Well, branded. Or branded. I don't know. Branded Knight or whatever. Like branded Knight.
Yeah, brand Knight. I mean, they do already have Firebrand, but brand is such a good word.
Mm-hmm.
It's on brand for the brands.
That's a good point, actually. Why did they call it Firebrand?
Well,
I guess because you're firing a brand like a poker.
Yeah, but they already have like the branded in the game and stuff. And
I mean, we
like,
could pull in terms of the
there.
name. There's already a bunch of like stat prefixes like Sentinel,
Prismatic.
Warden, Commander. Commander's I think a pretty strong one, but I feel like it kind of butts into the lore of everything.
You can't call it Commander.
Yeah.
Can't call him a commander because we're already a commander.
That's true. I mean, you could do something with corruption. I do think it's interesting too, touching just like really briefly on what Kroof said, talking about like creating these almost niches for classes or having a weakness or trade-off with class design. I think the other benefit with that is the fact that it creates openings for other classes to shine, right? It's like this jigsaw puzzle when you're trying to sort of like put together how these things work. Where, I mean, we've even talked about this a little bit with like Firebrand. If you have something that does too much of everything, sometimes it means that it just becomes the thing that replaces all things, or there's not like a trade-off or an opening for other classes to shine, which is not always easy to juggle because of course that means that you're having to create content that again addresses every single thing you've sort of worked into the game. But I do think something like a corruptor could be interesting to like really change the feel. And I do think having some kind of drawback for these classes would be something smart to do for design.
Well, you take the healing out of that and the support, because if you're corrupting things, you're not really supportive, are you? And someone's came up with a good name in the chat. Sorry, there's a few actually, like a dark paladin theme, like we're kind of talking about. I kind of like that.
Honestly, I have all these ideas for the elite spec, like Monk Paragon, blah 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 blah. Your Dragon Champion is better than all of them, so I think I like Dragon Champion right now. And
I'm so glad that my dragon nerdery has paid off.
And I think the brand should be a big part of it, and I think corruption works for that. And perhaps we could work in the Aegis idea
Dragonite.
where your elite, your grandmaster traits brand or corrupt different boons. So one of them would be corrupt aegis, one of them would be corrupt or resolution at this point. Another one's corrupt something else.
Well, they'd have to corrupt everything.
I just had a thought. What if with this whole like prismatic knight or dragon champion sort of thing, right? You could, if you create these areas or like the ground effects that like allow you to tank or things, what if you could enable something that would corrupt those zones where you went into like a corruption version? And so like the areas you'd laid down, if they were like underneath an enemy or something, would suddenly debuff as opposed to like buff your allies or something. I think that could be kind of cool.
An anti-healing zone. Any healing that you received in this area instead gets transferred to you.
Mesmer does that with Thingamajig, so that's actually not out of the realms of being done, to be fair.
This direction would see a bit more like melee flat damage and accessibility to defenses as well. And I think that's like a good slot for an elite spec, because you typically always want some aspect of damage or ability to kind of play in the solo world.
By the way, Jebro, when I said the Grandmaster's corrupt aegis, corrupt resolution, corrupt something else, I didn't mean you corrupt only aegis on someone else. I meant it corrupts the aegis on yourself into doing something else.
What, into like a bonus? You mean a bonus?
Changing using aegis. Because Guardian already has a lot of boons. So I think also maybe a trade-off for this one is like you don't have as much accessibility to apply boons to yourself as much. So it's kind of like, that would be the trade-off, possibly.
Okay, we need to keep going because I know these guys have to go at like
next profession.
Well, we got to think about the weapon as well. I know you're talking about weapons that actually don't exist in the game.
Spear exists. Spear exists, man.
It exists underwater. We need
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
you already have NPCs that use spear on land.
I need it to be a weapon that exists in the game.
At ArenaNet. They're programmers. All they gotta do is click clack clack.
I do think spear would be fine, and I think in regards to Dragon Champion, we already have some animations for special skills you can do and things, as you know, like Oreen's representative. Other weapons I just thought would be neat. I have mixed feelings about the anime shield hero, but I do kind of like the idea of a character having no weapon and only having a shield. I think that's kind of fun. Like where you hold it and you like bash, or you like you could do all sorts of things.
In some MMOs,
yeah. I think that might be kind of interesting, or like a bigger, like a shield, like a what's it actually called? Like the really huge shield wall. Yeah, like something like that might be interesting. Big hammer. I just think two-handed hammer is always fun. I'd be okay with that.
Guardian's already got a hammer, so you can't have that one.
I was always on board
like dual mace.
No, like two-handed.
Big one.
A bigger hammer.
A big one.
We want a bigger hammer.
The biggest hammer ever.
Okay.
I was on board for it. If you get monk, you'd have main hand focus as your weapon, and you hit people with like a book or like a skull.
Wait, what weapon?
I love it.
What weapons are they missing? Let's think about this. We've got
main hand
they're missing.
Offhand scepter.
No.
They're the only class
Jesus Christ.
that cannot actually use
this
like
question
full wield.
Right.
Guns.
They've not got guns, yes, at the moment. So this is an important thing to think about when we're thinking about this conversation. And because I'm the host, I have to bring these things in. And it's not necessarily that I don't want to have new weapons. I do. I've always wanted to have new weapons and stuff.
Short bow.
But short bow is a thing. Yes, guns is a thing. Dagger is also a thing. Not
Spear, trident.
Warhorn.
Warhorn is a thing. Yes.
Warhorn would be cool.
Oh, they're probably gonna do Warhorn, aren't they?
They actually, there was concept art that they were gonna get Warhorn for Heart of Thorns, but they didn't.
They got what they got so far. They've had two-handed. They've had one-handed. So are they due a two-hander? Like, is it the case
what
that
about
if you go
main
for
hand and offhand Warhorn?
I mean, if you had two and they did different things, that'd be kind of fun. I'd be down. I mean, yeah, I guess what I thought about more with like two-handed
Warhorn. Dragon. Ooh. You got the dragon tooth and the dragon call.
You can do. I don't know if I'd want this for Guardian.
I don't know if a Guardian can get doubly horned.
I was gonna say you could do something that was like rapier dagger or something, but I think I'd rather see that on something like mesmer or I don't know. I think it thematically work better. I guess what I meant with like
I mean, they don't have offhand
two-handed
sword. That's true.
Yeah, I guess what I meant with like two-handed hammer is like the play style that you see of that in a lot of places, where you're like smashing the ground or like something like that, where we'd see maybe a weapon that could be used.
I kind of do that.
I
with
hammer
so meh.
I just like I never use it. I use two-handed greatsword if I'm gonna do like dragon hunter power stuff. You know, like I just think it'd be kind of fun.
That's right. Do you mean maybe a rework? Maybe a rework.
Like a rework with like different abilities and looks.
The elite specialization. I mean, that's actually something which, you know, hasn't been done before. That actually could be a good idea to rework a weapon. Be like, okay, or like you said, and this would be good actually. When you go into this elite specialization, the weapon skills completely change. Like
all the weapons.
Be cool.
That would.
I mean, honestly,
actually be sick.
That'd be super cool.
Be fucking well good. Yeah, that's a good idea.
You know what?
I like that.
They did Weaver. They can do this.
I mean, I think so. I would also just love to at some point see bow be revamped for Dragon Hunter, because to me, I always wanted to use bow on Dragon Hunter, and I was like, this is so neat thematically that you'd like put your traps down and capture an enemy, and then bow ended up being super underwhelming. So like having something.
You should play PvP at the moment, Dragon Hunter.
See, I don't play PvP, so
with bow. Oh my good lord.
Big hits.
Yeah,
like kind of like a hammer.
Makes me sad.
A long range hammer.
Maybe I need to play some PvP to get that bow fix, because it just doesn't seem like it does much in PvE. Like you can play it, but like
ridiculous.
You know,
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
True shot is like, you know, you can almost one shot some people with that ability right now. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
So before we go to a next class, though, one last suggestion for a theme.
Okay.
Because Guardians, you know, I assume they get their power from the gods. Is that correct?
Or Guardians.
We'll go with that.
The lore. Sure, yeah, that's it.
I mean, spirits, and they're more spiritual maybe than
virtues. It's like, you know, prayers to like, and the beseechment of certain honor and courage, and just like the overall like championing of other people, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Let me see what the actual summary is, because devoted fighters who protect their allies and smite their enemies by drawing from the power of their virtues. True guardians are brilliant tacticians. So I guess it's less about like deities and more about their own personal fervent belief made manifest kind of thing.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah,
I was gonna say maybe they could be a dervish, and then their virtues could turn into transform into the avatars of like Grinth, Balthazar.
I mean,
I could say that for Revenant.
Yeah, Rev I think would work really well with that.
Yeah, I've written that down somewhere. Yeah, that's another week. Revenant is another week. That's gonna be an interesting one. Okay, so right, just to round up that, we'll do the counselor summary. So basically, we've moved through quite a few different themes. There's been a theme of a controlling / tanky-esque kind of guardian to almost more of the opposite end of the scale of being more of a corrupting, dark kind of knight, I guess, to a degree, with potential to well, maybe it can be the dark and the light side, or whichever you want to think is the dark side and the light side of that anyway. But yeah, so it's loads of different ideas in terms of weapons, maybe something new or something where, you know, it can be maybe one of the current weapons can be changed if you go into that elite specialization, or a spear, as you know, I think all three of you said.
Spear. Britney Spears.
But using Aegis or some of their already, I guess, you know, using Aegis as something which can be changed into something else, whether or not it's activated or corrupted, as Boots kind of said. And yeah, okay, so there's some ideas there. I mean,
protection too. Yeah, so the three grandmasters would be corrupt Aegis, corrupt resolution, and corrupt protection.
Oh, I love that. That's good.
Yeah, resolution. I forgot. I was like,
I was gonna say regen is probably one of the big ones as well.
Oh, that could be corrupted. Yeah.
So it could be like
resolve. Wait.
You would go off your traits, I think. You go off your traits. You probably do might, regen, and
correct. Convert might, regen, and Aegis.
Or Aegis. Sorry, I was thinking about that. Because then if you think about virtues, what it gives you for those, you know.
Oh yeah, okay, that works.
Then it would be might, I guess. Wait, was it? Yeah, might regen and stability, and it could change it. That'd be interesting, actually. Okay, yeah. This is why it's good. Like, I should have just done one. Should have just done one for each show and started this way earlier. I was thinking, this is 3 or 4. I'll fill it up easily, and then I was like,
you got all of us here. We are going to deep dive.
Yeah, it's true.
We are
going into
diving into this pool.
But if you were thinking of, and just last thought, just for the people out there thinking there's not going to be new weapons, and because I might be one of these people, they're probably not going to add new weapons, and the hope, you always hold on to hope. I'm a very strong believer in this, but I know we know Arena, as well. Like, it's probably not going to happen. It would be too much work. If it is too much work, which weapon are they going to have? Is it going to be out of the ones we've got? Short bow, pistol, rifle, offhand axe, offhand sword, warhorn,
spear,
not spear,
spear, halberd.
Spear exists. Spear exists in the game.
Spear exists in the game as an underwater weapon. Yes.
But there are NPCs that use them above ground. The Seraph use spears.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, if the Guardian gets spear, I will eat my own hat, which I have.
I'm ready.
We're
You must have a lot of those.
Right, so Necro, Guardian, and if you're listening to this and watching this, you feel free to give us options in the YouTube comments or comments wherever this is, because it's going to be in many, many places. It would be interesting to see your conversation and hear what you're thinking about as well. I appreciate it, and I'm sure these lot will all go and take a look as well. But
I will actually. I genuinely will.
Absolutely. Yeah. For the sake of time, and maybe we could probably do a show on each one, and it could go forever because there's ideas. I have a ton of ideas for Guardian, but I want to kind of move on. Necro, because otherwise I'll just keep bashing on about it. So Necro is, what's Necro missing?
Minions. More minion stuff.
No.
More minions.
Yes.
Necro
I will not
minions are
take
so
any
popular in
answer.
PvP right now. It's so weird. I don't
More
get
minions.
It. No.
I agree with Kroof.
No,
why? Not
Why
enough
do we send
more
any
minions.
more?
Don't give the game AI. This is not going to happen. No.
Oh, you about to eat your words.
No,
We
I'm not.
need to be
Arena
able to
don't want
control
AI in the game.
the minions. We need to be able
because
to
the minions don't have to
control
be.
them.
They're not going to let you do that.
What I hope and would like is a more well-defined minion master. Not to where like you are creating permanent minions, but maybe creating temporary minions that
like
fight
Elder
for a couple
Scrolls
seconds. Something similar to Elder Scrolls, where instead of actually casting a fireball, instead of the fireball, the animation is a minion. Something at least to kind of satisfy that. I know we might be
throw
touching on
minions.
No.
That's something that happened. Like that is something that is legitimately happens in Elder Scrolls Online. You need to play that game, man. Their necromancer is very.
They have a good necromancer.
It is very good. They like to give. So if people don't know what necro does in Elder Scrolls Online, there's you can play damage. You can play damage in terms of stamina or magic, and then you can also be a healer as well, or you can just be a PvP and be a god. And so basically you can have like physical attacks with like great swords and whatnot, and then you've got magic attacks with stuff, or healing with stuff. I mean, you can play a bow if you really bloody want to. It's I say Elder Scrolls Online is pretty unique in that way, but the real thing is that they do pop up, like kind of Kroof is saying, they pop up these different minions. So there's a minion which can sit beside you and just heal you and allies, and it can kind of walk around with you. There's one where you can send it up and you can just throw it into things and it just explodes. But like you have to when you activate the ability, you just target and it just runs into them and you can do a ton of damage. You can turn into a massive golem thing, and it's just like you're just this tanky beast, and it's not like lich form, it's more like rampage, where it's control-y. So it does do fairly good damage, but it's more like you just become really, really tanky, so that's why it's a good tank as well. It's very defensive ability, so that could be another thing. Like, that kind of theme would actually be very good. It would actually be kind of cool. But like, in terms of missing, like, is that then the tanky is it really missing tankiness? Like, is it really missing? Is it missing minions? Is that something that's missing, or is it something
It's missing long range flat damage.
Yep, that's another. You're reading off of my notes right now, crew.
You and I
think about the missing. Think about the miss. Bring the missing.
So here we go. Missing things for Necro 2. I wrote not much. You could probably have another blank slate for what you're coming out. You're not missing much. It's pretty good.
God.
Did you need to
Scourge?
Okay.
Scourge is very good. It brings a lot of support to raids and stuff like that. It's a very supportive class. It's very good in general. It also does a lot of damage.
It does a lot of damage, yeah.
Reaper does a lot of power damage. It's not like top tier, but it's pretty damn good, and it's very tanky, and it's fun.
It's easy.
It's a lot of fun. It doesn't need that much, so that's the first thing I wrote. So you could do a blank slate. Second thing I wrote was maybe long range power. Maybe
like a longbow.
Long range strike damage, maybe a longbow, something like that.
Rifle.
Rifle.
I don't often like rifle, but I could see it for Necro.
Yeah, and then we got. Then I wrote also it could possibly use a unique buff or something. Yeah, some sort of unique buff, even though it kind of has barrier that it gives to everybody. That kind of counts as a unique buff that it could give, but not really. And then finally, it was true control over your minions, and I have an idea for that for the F1, and we're going to talk about that later.
Okay. Anyone else missing? I will remember that. And then missing Necros, and if you can think of Rook, it was like where you've been like, I don't know if you played Necro much, or if you've seen Necros and you're like, what are they missing? I mean, it's very deaf, very much deaf, like a necromancer, you know. I mean, barrier is a defensive thing. They don't really heal much per se, but
the necromancer's like a necromancer, Jeb. What?
I mean, but like, what would it? How would you? Does it have to be all death and doom and gloom, or can it be like, you know? I mean, I know Scourge is barrier and everything else, but it's not.
That's interesting. When I'd been thinking of this originally, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't play much Necro, but I've seen other people who do, and I love hearing the conversation. So Boots and Crew, you're giving me life right now. And
yeah.
Thank you for the life you're giving me. I like hearing about it because I think it is really interesting. And I always like when there's like Necro healer classes, right? Because I think I love that subversion of theme, and yes. I think that's really fun. So I've been curious about it. When I was thinking about this, Ritualist came to mind for me, mostly just because I thought we have a lot of goopy, nasty stuff. Can I just get some ghosts? Like, can I just get like a few ghosts? There's ghosts everywhere. There's like Ascalon is just ghosts for days.
I was like, where's that?
It's full of ghost booty for days. Just go tap some and bring it back and use it for something.
Graveyard.
I mean, like, the whole realm of Tyria. The whole realm of Tyria is so full of just dead ghosts hanging out everywhere forever.
Oh, ghosts are
that
popular.
It seems to me that, like, taking that aspect would be interesting in some way, shape, or form. But your question that you posed to me, because as maybe, I guess I don't know if I'd say I'm always a ray of sunshine, but that's sort of a thing that I channel sometimes, like, to give this class something that maybe subverts death, it would kind of be interesting to have like I'm trying to think of the exact word I would use for this. Kind of like a shaman or a spirit keeper or a spirit farer or somebody that like is about
even a
giving,
lich, maybe.
I mean, Lich you could do, but I feel like it kind of gets like Reapery, but Lich would work maybe. I like the idea of somebody that's bringing peace to spirits, and then somehow uses that aggressively.
Oh, you mean using the anger of the spirits against your enemies? So enraged spirits. So,
yeah.
because if you think about ghosts, and
That's,
I mean,
that's like Revenant.
if you think about
medium.
supernatural, I
kinda
guess,
like
and why
Revenant.
ghosts stick around, they're looking for revenge, right? So you're thinking about using that anger and power against enemies.
So you're like a medium.
Yes, medium. You did it, nailed it. Ding, 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 ding. And maybe you could use something that would be about that. Like, I mean, communing with spirits is Revenant's thing, but I'm thinking less about like iconic spirits and more about like.
You're bringing us back to crystals again, aren't you?
I'm thinking about healing the world's soul through the power of crystal ghosts.
Crystals.
And I like something like that. I think would be interesting. Now, do I think that unless they get really creative with it, fulfills that long range power thing? Not really. Like I could also see them.
If you throw them from range, you could do that. I mean, like you can do it. I mean, you can do it like we were talking about the Necro and ESO. You can cast these things from afar. Like you can, you could have a staff. Like that. I mean, if as long as you can target it. I don't think it needs to be necessarily that. It could be something that spawns and no.
I mean, you could even just like channel different powers from different civilizations. Like you could have something that would be like the flames of Ascalon, or you could have something that could be like. It could be like spectral tragedies that have affected the land in some way, shape, or form, and then you get to wield them. I think that would be kind of neat, and I think it could also give, again, some more thematic closure to certain areas that have been like caught in this cycle of strife and misery for so long.
Like siphoning magic from these areas.
Rest in peace.
I just thought of something. You could possess objects with the ghosts and then hurl them at enemies.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
You possess a Choya and you just fling yourself.
Slam it. I was thinking about like what would be part of that fantasy of.
Well, I mean, if you think about
poltergeist, that'd be interesting.
Could you possess an enemy in PvP? Could you control someone else's body?
Well, these aren't ridiculous ideas, and I'm gonna give you some ideas here why these aren't ridiculous ideas. Because one, control has been a thing you can do for a long time. WoW is a game where you literally can control people, and in PvP you walk them off cliffs. I did it a month ago. That is not ridiculous.
I did it a month ago.
I did. Also, when you were talking about spirits in things, I was thinking ranger pets. If they just brought in a pet thing where it's like these aren't pets specifically, but they're actually spirits.
They're minions.
That are, I mean, maybe they could be minions. But like we have not seen anyone else. We have not seen them bring in another class with pets. Like, why is that not something we can even have? Like, I don't think anyone's ever talked about this.
You're
before.
asking for what Kroof and I are asking for, Jeffrey.
No. But that's not the same thing. The minions are
same thing.
Minions are
utilities. It is literally the same thing.
No, it's not.
They are currently with utilities, but you could turn it into something else. It's still a minion skill.
Or you could just use one extra permanent pet.
No. It's not utility. Plus? It's a pet. It's an actual pet. Like the same
yes, I know.
Thing
okay, so that's what I'm saying. And then your F1 skill would be instead of Shroud,
I didn't realize
you would take possession of your minion pet. And
that'd be so cool.
You have minion skills. So it's following you around the whole time.
That could be the F5.
It could die. It could get resummoned, etc.
Yeah.
When you have when you have enough life force, or when you have some life force, you press your F ability. Instead of having your shroud skills, you go into your minion pet. If it dies, you pop out. If your timer run down, depending on how much life force you had, runs out, you pop out. And you have new abilities when you're in that.
So is that kind of like Soul Beast then?
Not at all. Instead of Soul Beast, it comes into
merges with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it's the opposite of Soul Beast. You go into it.
But what I'm thinking
this would be like astral projection. You'd be like projecting your spirit out.
I know what you're saying, but like in terms of like, whether or not they would do that, and then you think, I mean, again, we're thinking about logic and we're thinking about all awesome thing that would be very, very cool in the game. I'm just thinking about like...
And hell, the elite skill could be what you guys were talking about, possess another player.
I think that would be so fun. And you could like maybe even if you could like put your spirit into that other entity or whatever it is, right? Like whether they wanted it to be some kind of, I don't know, spiritual construct that you made or an actual pet or some sort of creature. But like maybe if you do that, or if you just like project yourself out and you have that like essence, you could then like maybe you could even try and res your own unconscious body, which would be hilarious. Or you could like you'd be on a timer, or you'd have like a weakened health pool. Like those would be the drawbacks, right? Where like if people noticed you or saw you, they could stop you.
Well, because wouldn't you turn red for all your friends?
Yes.
You'd think, right?
No, you would.
I think that'd be so
you
fun.
would. And PvP, you would. Yeah, you'd have to.
And also, shouldn't, oh my god, in World versus World, you possess somebody like 900, 1200 away, walk them into your Zerg.
Well, that's literally what happens in
I really like
other games. Like, it literally happens. Like, that's already been a thing. Like, it's not
That's
not a
really
ridiculous thing to
You
think
take
about.
them and you jump them off a cliff.
It'd be
Well,
so
that's what I
good.
said.
I really
with
like
WoW. That's what I used to do as a priest. Priest control
Arena
ability.
net, let's
It's got
go.
a cooldown of like a minute or so. Like in priest, I would play a priest on one of the maps. You literally control someone and you jump them off, and they'd be done. They'd be in.
I really
They'd be
like
dead.
Riley's Spirit Walker in chat, but change it to Mistwalker.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
Miss
kind of
Walker.
Revenant-y.
You think it's too Revenant-y? I guess that's true
I
because they
think
do
it's a
the
little
mist.
too Revenant-y.
I guess
Anyway,
you
there's
could
so
do
many-
Soul
there's
Walker,
so many
Soul
mists.
Walker.
I think the possessing other players is very unlikely to happen, but it would be the most amazing thing in the world. I still think it's possible to do this minion thing where you have a pet minion that you could take over as your F1 ability for Shroud instead.
I like that as well. Now, would the minion passively fight too?
Yeah, of course.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
And I think your utility skills, besides doing certain things for you, would also command your minion to do something.
Command skills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Perfect.
I
Pull
can't.
from the ranger.
I'm gonna say.
Just
I'm gonna
pull
say
from the
this is the
Ranger.
first time I'm gonna say it. I'm not a fan of this idea. I am not a fan of this idea.
Wow.
At all.
it's fine.
No, it's
Attention
okay.
in the
Three of us-
I'm not a fan.
Three of us
I'm just
love
not.
this
We're gonna make
whole.
our own show now.
I
I
don't
think.
like
We
it.
love this like medium theme here, and that's fine. You know, it's all right.
No,
It's okay if you're wrong
I
this
like
one time.
The medium thing I like. What I do, the only thing I don't like is the idea of, I guess it's more of a, it's just more of a personal thing. I like to have a theme for the character overall with the weapons and everything else, and like the utilities, and having this idea of pets and like minions. Like minions just seem so. They're just so
Perfect.
dull.
More necromantic than minions.
Yeah, but but like unless you become, I would say like becoming something different than a minion, like something where you're more of a, like one of the gods, which, you know, if you became Gremph or something like that, I would be like, that would be cool. And your abilities.
So wait, you
completely
want to
change.
literally become a god? That's the only thing that'll make you happy.
Wow,
you,
Jack,
you did it in
only
Guild
thing.
Wars,
You
for
have a
God's
tall
sake.
order.
You did it in Guild Wars, and Guild Wars was a
This
good game.
bill from
Everyone
this
like that.
restaurant
I
is
mean-
$5,000.
I mean,
Look,
screw minions. I'm gonna be a god instead.
I can't disagree with you in the sense that I think that thematically, yes, it's way more cool to be like, I will be the avatar of a god. But I do also think it's really neat to have something that is more like, gosh, even if it is just like an astral projection, or like if we're going with that poltergeist theme, or like you're inhabiting
I like
another
the
spirit,
thing.
or like,
yes.
I think, you know, they could do so much with this idea of a minion. And one thing that's nice about Guild Wars 2 is that although maybe the minion classes are not like maybe the most exciting, I have trouble saying that because I've seen minions and pet classes be done so poorly in like Final Fantasy 14. I love you so much. But boy, the pet class is bad though. They bad. There's
not many games where pet classes are great, to be fair. I feel
Even
like
Archie
it just
Warlocks
takes...
in World of Warcraft, I really enjoyed.
That's fair enough.
And in Elder Scrolls Online. I think Elder Scrolls
Yeah.
on World of Warcraft is pretty
pet
good.
classes in the ESO are so boring though.
Ooh.
I mean,
I'm
but
just
you
like-
get like the feeling.
I
And
think
I
that's
think
why
Guild
I
Wars
just
2
don't like. Maybe I just don't like pet classes. Although I
I think
play a
that's very
druid,
possible.
That's possible.
but I play a druid because the pets are unique. Like they have a skill which I use, like immobilize, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
And
that's
also, druid, don't you only get one? Wait, is it druid that you only get one pet?
So best.
Two, okay,
so
but
best
it's
as
like
well.
lower stats or something.
Yeah, it's not as effective.
Yeah.
They do some
okay.
really cool stuff in raids, which I think is why I'm like, yeah. they're good.
What would be the trade-off that you would want to see with a Necromancer Elite spec? Reduced health,
Jebro's unhappy.
reduced armor.
That's the tr-
No. The reason I'm also telling you this is that the reason I don't like it is because of PvP and what I've grown up like over the years, how we've seen how AI builds are just infinitely unhealthy for the game.
Theo, I have an idea for it.
Infinitely unhealthy.
Just listen to me, my friend.
But I'm trying to explain my thing.
I know. I totally agree with you. And minion builds in general right now are terrible because of that.
They're not. You're not necessarily. It's not AI because you're taking it over.
You're taking it over. First of all, in PvP, that will be a lot of fun. Your character goes into it. You like become it essentially.
So you're transforming.
Programmatically, you would go. Your character would teleport to the location of the minion, replace its entity, and become a new entity that looks like it.
What if it was a transform then instead?
I think that ruins for the fun, though.
That ruins the fun. Yeah.
I think part of the fun would be
it would essentially be a transform. It just doesn't. It wouldn't be labeled as transform.
Yes, part of what I think would be the most fun about having it not just be that like you yourself physically transform is exactly what Boots is saying. This idea that like if we had even like a limited tool with this little minion, like maybe it does like not much of anything when it's on its own, or maybe you can like choose to summon it to the field at a key point when you think like maybe I'll need it or something. But if you had the option to even just like with a really simple thing, kind of direct it places, or even like have it go to a certain enemy or something like that, and then you were able to take over its consciousness, think about the strategies you could do with like positioning yourself somewhere and then almost like a teleport appearing elsewhere and being able to do something else over there, or like
a bit
like that would be so fun.
Mesmer with clones where you can put yourself.
Kinda. Clones are also terrible AI though.
Clones are very temporary though. They're very temporary. It's not really. I don't feel like that's the same.
So what I was gonna say is, right now you only have an F1 skill until you become Shroud, right? For Necromancer, you could have a few more F skills. Maybe to resummon the minion or whatever. Maybe to direct it to go somewhere.
So you wouldn't have a Shroud targeted.
You would not have a Shroud. You'd become the minion instead of the Shroud, and then you'll have 5 new skills.
Is that taking away a major mechanic of Necro though?
It's
good. Get rid of it. It's giving us a new take on Necro.
Its health would just probably
just remember my role here, people. I'm a host. I'm asking questions.
And your life force is still there. Everything about the life force is still there. The life force is now the amount of time you could stay as your minion.
Okay, so it would then be called what? It would just be called Life Force, but
still be called Life Force. It works.
And then on top of this, your utility skills, on top of the basic commands you could give it with the new F abilities, on top of it, your utility skills will order all your minions, including your little guy and whatever other minion skills you might have, to do certain things. So like you take 2 of these new utility skills, one says all your minions attack a target and do an extra bleeding for each hit. Another one says all of your minions go to that location over there and attack the first thing it sees, and blah blah blah. And that way you could work in the other minions into the build as well.
I like that we've created like a mega build here, because it's like I could take any of these components from this and like separate them out and just do something themed around that and be fine. But I really love this collaborative spirit that we've all brought together. I've also seen in chat, and I felt like this one might be interesting just to mention, the idea of something like vampire or like Lich we talked about earlier, where like you yourself are maybe more high mobility and like doing kind of things where you're popping around, and it's not necessarily like you have a bunch of kind of like, you know how you can become like the bone titan or stuff like that, like something that would let you kind of do that. I think I'm just way more invested in just changing it up, and I do like the idea of messing with these other components, but I think that could be a fun one if they wanted to do something like that, you know?
I'm still on board with the medium too.
I think it'd be neat. Yeah, I don't mind. I guess the minion idea warming up to it would just have to be, you'd have to be very active in it. I would as long as it's active and you're doing stuff, like I'm all up for it, because it's just AI is awful. And
what would be your personal, if you had one, idea for an elite spec, Jebro, for Necromancer? Like, what was your initial, like, this is what they're missing, and like this is the theme that they have to go with?
Well, the thing is like whenever I'm thinking about missing, like I'm playing, because I play Scourge support, like Plague Doctor, and I play like something that I thought would actually be cool would be elixirs, actually. for a necro. If they've got a plague doctor theme, actually give it to them. Like, you know, have a plague doctor. You could have this unique armor set, but then like, what would elixirs be? Would they be similar to kind of like engineer? Would it be? This is an idea I've just had in the last 5 minutes, so you're gonna have to bear with me on this one.
We'll work it out with you together.
Actually kind of make it. It would actually be quite cool. Like you could, you know, it would be about poison and stuff like that. You know, different conditions that would inflict disease and you know, torment is obviously a thing, I guess. But like it could have, I don't know how it would work specifically, but if you think about elixirs with engineers, like it's mostly boons and it's mostly like stability and stuff like that. So whether or not that would be useful, I don't know. But you don't get a lot of boons. I mean, well, no, that's not true. You do, but you don't get many that you can put out to other people unless you're using wells. It's all about barrier. So it could be about, you know, there could be more thrown things. But then again, that might be fairly boring. So it's just more of, I guess, something like that. I want something with speed. Something that's a bit more, I guess, because Necro in PvP.
You want to see some real speed?
Well, Necro doesn't have much speed. It doesn't have much. I mean, it has things like ports, and it has like spectral walk. You know, when you start it, you can go back to the beginning. When you've got like flesh worm, you can port to it. If you get locked down, you get stuck unless you're playing Scourge support. And you're just a ridiculous tank, and that's going to get nerfed at some point. They have to. That thing has been ridiculous forever, and I don't know why they don't change it. That's another discussion.
It's very tanky. Necro's very tanky.
It's a class which should have been nerfed. It's been ages ago. And it's awesome to play, and I love playing it in raids and stuff. But you can feel how much it carries, and that's when it's a bad spec. And it's not just in PvE; it's in PvP as well. So when I'm thinking about the missing thing, that's what I'm always thinking about, the gaps it can fill. So when I'm thinking about aroma in PvP, something that can 1v1. So it's very much as, you know, it would be damage. It would be something which does have a little bit of sustain itself, but it would be something which could get out
Vampirism.
as well. So like a vampire or something like that. And it makes me think about some of the stuff in other games like ESO, where you've got this it's almost like a mist form, but you turn into like this swarm of bats and kind of fly away almost. And you're a little bit invulnerable and stuff. So I like the vampire, someone said earlier.
You know, it'd be really good mobility actually. Commanding that minion that I was talking about very far away and then possessing it.
Well, that's the similar to like the kind of worm, I guess, but that's different because you possess it, right?
And then using a command skill to make your worm go somewhere else whenever you want to.
I mean, maybe you could.
That'd be interesting. We could also
command the worm. Oh, I see.
We could also go like totally different direction and lead. I had like a brain moment while I was reading the chat because somebody suggested scarab plague beetles, something with like plague doctor, which I was like, oh, that's a neat way to tie in the lore. But then my brain immediately was like, wait, hold on a minute. If they kind of did stuff that featured like the realms of Alona and stuff like that for, Path of Fire, if we're going into Cantha, I mean, there's a wealth of other stuff they could draw from. And we could get something totally out of the blue, which would be like Onmyoji or something, which is kind of like
in Campfire and factions, what happened? I mean, it's like a big disease, right? I mean, it was like a plague, right?
Oh, the miasma and all
the miasma.
I mean,
that'd be interesting.
Plague Doctor isn't too ridiculous. It's kind of themed, and because to be honest, I mean, you know, with how much Plague Doctor's been pushed on Necro, you know, my teapot, and you know, there's a rune set already. It kind of just makes me think. I feel like that could be a thing that they could do. I'm
pretty sure that's the only reason they made the Berserker Elite spec, because they had the armor already.
I mean,
that's the only reason.
Rune names could be an influence, and they did give rune sets for each elite casters that have been created. So it's not saying that that's a main influence, but like, you know, I like to kind of think about these things like sometimes it's already in the game already, or you know, but I do like to go into that direction of. So I applaud your creativeness, basically, because I that's something I enjoy a lot. I
like a Plague Doctor idea. And so if we're doing miasma, is the miasma also the thing that petrified the forest?
I mean,
wasn't that Shiro exploding?
Yeah.
The miasma was the poison, wasn't it? Like, it was just kind of hanging out, and that was the thing that was changing people into the corrupted
I don't know if it's
thingies.
petrified. But you probably
might
could
have.
have like an elixir
know.
that, petrifies everyone, kind of like basilisk venom.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
know?
these don't have to be positive benefits or boons or buffs. They could be, like you say, they could be fields that get thrown down for whatever. I mean, Guardian puts down burning fields, and other classes put down poison fields and stuff. So that could be a thing, but I just don't know how fun that would be, I guess. So I'm just trying to think about the fun factor of that.
You can drink elixirs, you could throw them, you could set them to explode.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I will say that like when it comes usually to new classes that are introduced in like an MMO that I've seen, those more kind of like mundane, like it's tough to say because I think it would be really cool if they like spin it right, but I've seen a lot of them not go the route of things like chemist, alchemist, or things like that because they feel as though well, because they just feel like
cool.
It could be super neat. It could be super neat, even for like NG or something, where you like mix different things. But it's like a lot of times I haven't seen companies lean into that because usually they're looking for things that are like big and flashy for a new class.
Exactly. And Guild and ArenaNet have said this, and like ex-employees specifically have been like, we've been told to make this thing flashy AF. Like, this is an actual thing that they've been told to do in the past. And it's
so then
like,
Jebro.
No. That may
so
not be
Jebro.
that flashy.
What would be the F1 and maybe your Shroud stuff going on for a Plague Doctor if you want to be as flashy as possible?
I mean, I'm
thinking about table.
I'm thinking about the armor, man. Like, and for a Plague Doctor, that's what I'm thinking about. But like, what would a weapon be as well? Like for your classes, for
rifle, pistols.
I mean, a Plague Doctor could be a dart gun. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it could be a gun which fires darts in some kind of way.
Sure, yeah.
I was thinking for the medium, like my go-to would probably just be the focus because it's like you're supposed to be focusing in on an object and all that stuff. Dual wheel foci, all that stuff.
So you get a new appearance that kind of looks like a crystal ball or something.
And then you can dual wield Binding of Ibos and have 2 books out. Oh. Yeah,
I could see something like that. I mean, if we wanted to get like really creative, they could do something kind of neat with other tools, right? I kind of jokingly tossed out for Guardian earlier incense burner or like a sensor. You could do something like that for like for this idea, whether it's poltergeist or medium. Like you could have something be kind of like a sensor that would swing.
Or something. I was like,
big ass durable. Yes, I'm down. Dead by Daylight, the Plague. Oh, that'd be a great weapon.
Just because if we need the long distance power damage.
Unfortunately,
it doesn't fit any
spell
of the other
cast with a focus.
Well, I mean,
you have like a 900, 1200 range focus spell casting.
That's true.
I mean, a longbow doesn't have to be. You remember, you can kind of. The thing is, a longbow, like if you think about Dragon Hunter and you think about Ranger, their weapons are completely different longbow wise. Like they
or you could be the Plague Doctor and be like Anna from Overwatch with a sniper rifle and snipe healing and potions and elixirs to people.
Who is the class? There is a class that does have like a.
I'm waiting for. I mean, if they can make great sword into a long range weapon, they can turn longbow into a melee weapon.
I mean, we forget about these things, don't we?
I mean, there's a bashed.
And again, like we said before, like if you got a new elite specialization, it doesn't mean that necessarily that weapon can't. And this is again something that we haven't seen. I would love to see that because I think that's
so cool.
Amazing. How cool is that? Like you change the current weapon, you just like, you know what? There's no weapon that changes, so why don't we just change the weapon when the elite spec changes? Like this, it becomes something else. Why not?
You could do something kind of cool if they change like staff or something, right? Like I've always thought, granted, like some of the staff animations or like the actual models are a little complex, so would it look a little bit funny if you were like walloping somebody with them in like a melee capacity? I guess.
No, you're right.
Spells on a necro, it's a scythe.
Exactly.
It comes with the scythe animation.
You become, when you go into Reaper Shroud, like essentially, like whatever you've got becomes a scythe because you are literally hitting them with a massive scythe. Like it's like this is not something that's out of the realms of possibility. So I like this. This is good. There's more ideas now. Wait a minute, what other questions?
Okay, hold on a second. I have a question then. Dervish, because since we can't really have a scythe because of some of the staff already have those Scythe skin staffs, so we can't like have a new weapon set for Scythe. So if we do like a Reaper, where when you become something as a dervish, you get a Scythe and get to swing it around. What class would be able to become a dervish then, who doesn't currently have some sort of dual weapon, some sort of staff, maybe, let's say, that they would need?
That's out of the realms of this conversation because we're talking about specifics.
Elementalist?
But
yeah. Maybe see Elementalist.
There's probably many because we've still got another class to go, and I can't remember how long.
Yeah, there's so many that can like.
I would love to have this conversation, and I'll probably get you all again on this, to be fair, the next time, because I feel like this is just the group for this. I feel like there's a lot for Necro. Okay, let me just round up quick summary. Potentially minion based, but more active, not AI focused, where you get inside the minion, you take it over.
And also command them,
yeah, okay. Maybe a Plague Doctor-esque kind of thing. Weapons. It's all out there. Maybe a double focus, as apparently Crew says.
It's on the table.
But
this table is so big. It's on the table.
I think Necro, in terms of like borrowing from Guild Wars, is going to be difficult for them to kind of shift something into it. I think if it was going to happen, it'd probably be Ritualist, like kind of Rook was saying.
My only issue with Ritualist is that spirits. I mean, they already kind of have spirits, right?
And there's spirit weapons and stuff in the game, I guess. But
yeah,
when you're talking
even
about...
for Necro though, like they have the the Scourge shades, which is very spirity.
It's kind of, but I think, when we were thinking about ESO earlier, we were thinking about minions and stuff like that. I'm thinking about these spirits that could come out and kind of like they are in Guild Wars, whereas they're not like sit there and cast and do damage. They're just one-time effect things, like they're blasted out, like we were talking about. Like, this thing does some damage and some intense damage for a short period of time, because they've got them on Revenant, if you think about Renegade to a degree, and it does these AoE kind of things and stuff. So that, again, is something that's possible, but then you can think, well, Revenant does that already. Is that something that's already, was that more too ritualist, and is that something that even bring about again with another class? Again, it could be, but if it's a utility, it's different, because on Renegade, I mean, it is utility as well as... Yeah, it's difficult, because it really depends on whether or not they want to spirit. It does, because Ritualist isn't a class in Guild Wars 2. It doesn't mean that it can't be spread out between the other classes. There's no rule about this, is there?
I guess the difference between what Ritualist could be to the Renegade is that the Renegade spirits are only there for a set amount of time and
that's
disappear.
What I'm saying, yeah.
So like,
you want it to be permanent?
Well, a Ritualist, like back in the old days, they had a ticking life thing. They went down after a time, but you could keep them up.
That's why they don't want it. That's why they don't want that kind of AI. They don't want that kind of AI that's going to be sitting there doing nothing. Well, it's going to do something, but it's going to be doing too much for the player. But it doesn't mean that they can't have it in a short period of time and throw it out. And like you say, if you're taking over something and you're active within it, I think that's definitely more likely. But they just won't go for AI anymore.
But think about the second side effect with it for me. The command utility skills means that, yes, you have that extra minion to command around, but you then have extra play with the minions already in the game, because you can now command those around as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if... They're not that exciting though, are they?
Yeah,
do you want to be a little rat thing?
You're like, they're awful. They're trash.
Imagine
they
if
should be deleted
your
from the
view
game.
completely changes to this rat thing in his first person, and you're just like,
That would be so funny.
I'd like to be the elite, the elite golem. That would be fun.
Yeah, well, I'm figuring the pet's gonna be cool like the flesh golem. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you, I don't want to be the little rat things. I can't remember what they're called.
Jagged horrors.
The jagged horrors. They sound better than they look, to be fair. And just like, I wouldn't like to come up like face to face with him, but do you want to be one?
Maybe they should do like a little bit of a pet, maybe some like milk and some tuna. Be fine. Cute.
What? Right. You can feed them. Okay, so
feed them my fingers.
Feed them, Deborah.
I think right. Have you both got half an hour?
Yep.
Or is that?
I think so. The doctor will call, and I'll probably just like stay on the phone at 2:30ish or something.
Okay, all right.
Like, yeah.
We're gonna go for fifth.
Whatever.
These conversations are very open. It doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna come up with a spec for each thing. We're talking very, very broadly about these things. If anyone's listening thinking, "Oh, that's never gonna happen," they're never gonna do that, blah blah blah. That's my voice. Okay, so you can't have that one. I'm the voice of somewhat reason to a degree, but also I want to have these conversations of whatever. Like, literally, like I remember Colin Johansson and Josh Davis saying to me in a meeting at ArenaNet when I first moved here, talking about whatever I wanted in PvP. They were literally said something along the lines of dragons fucking unicorns, and they were like, if you can have it, what would you want it to be? It can literally be anything. And it was the general gist. I can't remember the exact phrasing. It was something like that, maybe. I'm not going to say that's a direct
Paraphrasing
quote,
here.
but
Time
like,
has passed.
that's the only time I'm going to say the F-bomb. But like, I'm just, anyway, but that's good to have because it's not impossible because we've seen the kind of stuff they brought into the game. Holosmith is ridiculous, and that was something completely out of left field I didn't really see coming. And there's been some awesome stuff. And then there's kind of more obvious stuff, I guess, like, I feel like Soul Beast was kind of, Reaper was kind of maybe going to be definitely a thing, but they were very, very, very cool and unique specs I really enjoy. So we'll see. But now we're going to go towards Thief. And Thief is actually the class I'm probably the least, I play the least, definitely. Experience-wise, I know what it does in PvP. I know what it does in all the probably not World v World as much. Does anyone have a burning desire to say what they're missing? What they think is missing from Thief? Because I feel like I know.
I feel like we all know. I feel like we're all aware of the elephant in the room, and this elephant.
They're missing not having stealth, right?
That is not what I was going to say.
I mean, they're missing not having a thing. I mean, isn't that technically true of everyone?
just like you, I don't
I'm
play
missing not having hair
so much. But people, we all are aware of what Thief does, and I do play some bits of Thief, and I talk to Age, who is a Thief player, and maybe some other thieves in the community, and it's always the discussion of being able to play a bruisery play style, not having to go in and out all the time, being able to kind of they want to.
Yeah.
And what I would also like to see with Thief is a change from the norm of being that assassin, someone who's able to kind of stay in the fight a bit more. Maybe assassin. A samurai.
So what you're saying is,
or dual wielding axes.
I was thinking like brute.
A brute.
Yeah. They're missing that self. Brute. I mean, my whole initial thought was like, I don't play any Thief. so like when I was thinking about this, I like the idea of the mobility, but I agree that having a different playstyle would be great, right? Having something that would be maybe more like, the muscle of the operation as opposed to the, person that's kind of sneaking in. But I also have been rewatching the show White Collar recently. So the idea of like a gentleman thief is really delightful to me, or like a heist man, or I don't know. I don't know what you would do with this. Maybe it would be like support. I don't know what you would do with it, but I kind of like that concept. Of course they could do like Shinobi with Kantha, but
yeah.
So I think I went through all of this in my head, and also I did a video a while ago with WP. So we landed on a type of assassin, like a magical assassin, but we regretted immediately not going for a swashbuckler type character like you're saying, because we're going to Kantha, we're going on boats.
You mean a literal pirate?
Like a literal pirate. You have to be a pirate.
It's done. I'm sold. We're there.
Yeah.
Good. End of podcast.
I feel like that's more a ranger, though.
Make them walk the plank, literally. They're elite. A ship spawns, you just make them walk the plank and they die. That's it.
Exactly.
I'm in. Yeah. I'm sold.
And you do offhand.
You've already got the legendary weapon. Sorted. Epic. Right.
I could see it. I could see that. I definitely could see Swashbuckler if they did it in a certain flair. I could see even something like Duelist a little bit. But again, I think Mesmer would be so good for that, so I don't want to like put it on anybody else. But I could see it.
Yeah. But honestly, my missing things category did say like tankiness, healingness, and good mid-range multi-target damage is what I think they are kind of missing.
So
yeah.
this is the thing with this class as well. So we are going to Camphor. Factions obviously had Assassin.
Yep.
Does that mean that Assassin will be an elite spec for Thief? Or does it mean that Assassin could even be an elite spec for something else? There's a question.
I think there's already so many Assassin homages in Thief to begin with when they were creating it, that it kind of would feel kind of just repetitive or redundant at this point to be like, this is the Assassin, and it's kind of the same skills that were already introduced.
Yeah.
So I would like to see Thief get something other than Assassin. It's a very easy thing to gravitate towards, of course.
So do you think it would be a bit of a cop-out if they just gave it as an Assassin?
For me, yes.
Oh, that's fine.
I think they could still do it though. Because
I think they absolutely could
do anything, but
because
I would
there's
like
no
to
magic
see
in the
more.
The thing that Thief is missing from what the original Assassin had is like, the purpley Oni magic stuff that they're missing, that they don't have in all they have is shadow magic, which is cool in itself. Or shadow arts, which is not really magic in itself. It's just blinding powder and stuff like that. So yeah, they're missing.
I mean, they weren't
magic.
Really, they weren't like, they were still very much in because I'm literally playing Assassin right now in Factions on stream, and like as I'm playing it, I'm like, I'm just a melee warrior that does like, that heals as I do damage at present as I'm playing it. With Mesmer mixed in, I'm like getting my energy. Yeah. There is stuff I've not got to yet. But like at that level, like I'm like, I'm kind of porting around. I can take some damage at times as long as I siphon things like health and energy from my enemies, like to keep sustain up.
That's so I made a build for the Assassin back in the day, which was a dual wielding axe Assassin. That used that enchantment that said you only get hit like 25% of the time or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And then you're just healing up by attacking and getting energy by attacking, and so you never get killed essentially.
It would be sustained, right? Because then it would encourage you to stay in the fights, and energy would be a thing which you could spend on a healing skill on a weapon or a utility.
Exactly. And so I think that's something you could do for this Assassin for a Thief, but it'd be more magic-y than anything.
So what's a magical Assassin-y Thief name? What's something that could be...
That's what I've been trying to think about, honestly. I mean, I like the idea of something like Shadow Dancer. That might be kind of neat. Something where you like played into shadow themes.
I guess we've got
Shadowmancer, but it's kind of like Chronomancer.
You can't go Shadow because we got Shadow Arts as a trait line. Although, I guess you could. Shadow is already, so if you think about the trait lines, you've got Deadly Arts, you've got Critical Strike, Shadow,
the Phantom is good.
See, Phantom could work. Because the
Phantom Thief.
Phantom in like comic books as well, he kind of looks like he would be an assassin, but he's very physical, I guess. Sorry, it's just the random Phantom theme tune from the 80s cartoons.
Pilot,
just came up in my head.
You might have sold us. You might have just sold that property. You might have just listed it. There you go. Congratulations. I'm down for Phantom.
And then you could have like this mask,
Phantom.
which covers only half of your face and a top hat.
Exactly.
So would the trade-off...
The Phantom of Good was to his
trade-off.
Would the trade-off then be your stealth?
I mean, you don't have stealth.
1 second less?
Well, you maybe don't have stealth.
No, I feel like they would still need stealth because it's so...
Yeah, but
it's so integral into the class.
But maybe like... But that's the thing, like maybe... I mean, if you think about it, like if you're playing Starthief, like Deadeye, not Deadeye, Thingamajig, oh my god.
Thingamajig, yeah.
Then you're not going to be... Then you don't have as much stealth anyway. Like, you don't have as much mobility. So I
kind of like the idea... Sorry, go ahead, Jeb, go ahead.
No. So you could... Like, Daredevil, sorry, just went out of my head. Like, depending on if you play staff, or because I think staff builds are more about, the dodge and everything else, obviously. Like, people don't tend to have as much stealth in those builds, or like mobility, I guess. So like that kind of gets taken away if you use a specific weapon. Oh, I'm so rusty on Faith. Do you know what I mean?
What?
Like, it kind of...
I want to hear what you had to say.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I liked the idea of playing into the element that you were talking about, like the evade, right? Like where there's something about like
thinking.
I don't even know if it would be like consuming.
Well,
I'm so sorry.
Stealth instead of stealth now is like that enchantment that makes it so that you only get hit 50% of the time or something, or you take 50% less damage. I don't know.
And like I've seen other games that have done this with like a ninja or something like that, where you almost create like there's one that creates like a shadow of yourself that then does a sequence of attacks after you. There's one that like it creates almost illusions of yourself, and then they hit the wrong one, and that's the lore behind your sort of evade, right? I think with Mesmer it'd be hard to do like phantom people because that's like Mesmer's entire thing. So like. But I think they could do something with an idea of like a distortion of perception of reality, or like that, like something about your animations and things with the evade, or like, it would misdirect people in a sense, which would just be really neat. Like, I think thematically that could be fun. And part of the drawback of that class then would be that like whatever you had to do for this rotation or like this cycle that would keep that up or would like put you into that window of the evade, like you yourself with the skill ceiling of that class would have to understand how to negotiate that. Otherwise, you'd probably of your own not be able to take a ton of hits directly. But if you could like master that, then you could really stay in the fight for like a long time, which I think would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Lit.
Nailed it. Well, we wrapped up this one so easy.
Okay, but hold on. We got to get back to so there's the tankiness, but do we want to put healing in it as well? Do you want to say that the steel now is some sort of life tether, so that whenever you hit this target,
but Thief doesn't have any. Thief doesn't really have any heals. Like, I mean, there's Boon Thief, wasn't there?
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's a life tether now. So when you steal, it's like a mark your target, and whenever you hit this target, you heal yourself and people around you for a little bit.
They could do something kind of cool with that.
Like Signet as well, I guess. Yeah.
That could like twist it as an idea of. Maybe you can all help me find the words, like as though you have just like you and your party have done a big score or something, like where like it's almost as though you're stealing something precious from the enemy, and then that applies some kind of thematic buff, boon, heal or something to you, where your party now has this like inspiration like from the heist going right. Or
I would be on board for giving them more heals so long as they didn't heal themselves. Because I think
if you're removing stealth from the guy, if they're removing stealth, then you're going to need to give them more heals.
Well, they already have a bunch of teleports in evade frames.
It doesn't have to be heal, it can be barrier. So, it can be barrier.
True. It could be barrier, but I think
it onto another class.
In general, I'm always a bit cautious, especially with the history of Guardian, when, professions become tanky and have a high accessibility of heals to themselves. But I think if they were just to allow heals to allies and damage, but if they had it to where you weren't healing yourself, but were instead healing your party members and your allies, that'd be a bit more interesting in terms of like you're specializing into more of a medic role rather than just being tanky yourself and also reverting all the damage that you've taken.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
They already have that, I guess, in critical strikes.
There is the idea, I've seen this in chat as well, the idea of jutsus. Well, jutsu, which it just kind of means like general skill, spell, ability, but like in some curtain media and stuff has kind of been put in like into connotation with the same idea of like almost mudras, where you're like creating spell casting or religiously significant hand gestures. which is seen in a lot of different cultures. I mean, going to like India, but also Japan and you know, a lot of these different thematic things. I know like in 14, you have almost these chains of different hand gestures that you do that then summon different effects, be it like an AoE, a single target, a buff, something like that, or like a debuff area for enemies. I'd be a little bit worried that like that theme would be too similar to other MMOs in the market, right? Like with 14 having ninja as a class, but there are some interesting things you could do with like spell papers, like where you're like almost sending out slips of paper that have some sort of beneficial boon, or like create some kind of effect.
Gambit
kind of, I mean, like you could do something like that.
Gambit
You could.
Would be sick. Just throwing out
It's
cards.
like
That'd be awesome.
there's a lot of ways I think you could get that still kind of spellcaster feel, and if they wanted to tie it into camp, that they could, or you could still do something like that healing for allies and like have it tie into like a more magical or supernatural sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential for Thief because it seems that Thief has kind of been in this like box for quite a while in terms of high damage.
Yeah.
It's well, I don't know if it's necessarily
it's difficult
but
when you name a class a thief. Like you have the names synonymous with what a thief
that's
is.
the core class.
Thing.
But I feel like with specializations, you have more leeway to take creative risks. And for the past two expansions, they've only really seen damage. And so this is like the expansion where they really could go out of the box and do crazy things with like boons, effects, bruiseriness. Like
this is the thing. Like there is a lot of speculation for a lot of people that monk could be like a monk kind of esque class can be a thing. Like if you think about World of Warcraft, what a monk does. A monk is like, you know, you can be a healer, you can be all of them. I mean, it's a specialization thing. It depends how you roll with it. But like you are able to do damages, you know, heal as you do damage. You're able to do some magical abilities as well because, you know, monks, I guess if you think about, you know, depending on, you know, I'm not thinking specifically religiously. I'm thinking more like, you know, depicted in whether or not it's anime or movies or whatever. What they do, and in Guild Wars, obviously, you know, we had a monk. It would be dangerous if they called it a monk, I think, but some kind of monk-esque thing for Thief isn't out of the realms of impossibility because of what I feel you're kind of saying.
Point, yeah,
you know, like a lot of people
that would be tanky, healy, and acrobatic.
Yep.
Yeah, and there are some monk archetypes, like you were saying, Jeb, and it depends on the type of media.
World of Warcraft as well.
But like there are some archetypes for it that are more so like the wandering monk, right? Which I think fits more into that idea of like thief, the wanderer along the road that's maybe a little scruffy and, you know, is either sharing wisdom or oftentimes drinking a lot of booze. And like, you know, like, so they could do something like that. But I think they, like you said, they'd have to be careful because if they reconceptualize it too much from Guild Wars 1, I think the player base is going to find that very like dissonant and really strange, especially for those who really loved it from Guild Wars 1. But I think there's also a larger discussion here as well. And this is something that, you know, I've heard from members of my own community, and that's really interesting too, is like just how much, and I think they've always been pretty good about this to some degree, but like how much they want to really specifically draw from like one culture, one thing, especially when it comes to like a lot of the big egregious tropes for like depicting especially Asian cultures and just smushing them all into one big thing, you know, like, so it would be something where I think if they draw really pointedly from like a specific culture or theme, I'd like to see them do some like actual real interesting research into that, or like actual, I don't know, archetypal mythological figures that would play into that kind of idea. And if not, like something that, like you said, would be a re-envisioning of it that's maybe more generic, but sort of is an homage to some of those kinds of themes would be neat too.
I have a feeling that they definitely lean more towards homages of their own work than necessarily doing something in an Asian general theme, because I thought that they would be doing something more like that desert themed for Path of Fire, but they didn't really do any elite specs besides Scourge.
Scourge is the only thing I can think of, I would say. Yeah.
Or Firebrand. Firebrand's pretty big into the.
That's true.
It all draws off of Elonian lore.
Yeah,
like all the books and things that you read and the skills that you use are like based off of lore.
Yeah, they wrote it into it. Yeah, they wrote it into it for sure. but like it's not desert themed necessarily.
I guess Heart of Thorns isn't either then. I guess. I mean, I guess Druid
Mirage kind of is in terms of oases.
Oh, true.
Yeah, and it depends as well on the actual, like what they're doing, right? Like, is it an homage to like the setting itself, like Mirage, desert, right? Or is it like to a specific culture? Because like if we're talking like culturally with like Egyptian and African influences, do we have anything? No, not really. But I mean, the realm itself features a lot of really beautiful details and also added so many great CC options and things, right? So I think they usually do kind of walk that balance where it isn't like specifically targeted at one thing. But it's also important to have the diverse representation that we do in the game.
For sure.
So, you know, like if
they're pretty good at like, they're pretty good at the balance of pulling from, of course, the landscape and the geography of the earth that we have. Because like when your imagination can only extend so far, like especially Mirage, you have to kind of deal with oases in the desert, especially. But they typically try to kind of keep things in the lore itself and things that they already have established. So far they've done pretty well with that, in my opinion. We're gonna have to see how End of Dragons, like, you know, comes to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, one
Especially
thing that we didn't talk about with Necromancer, thinking about like drawing directly from the lore of the world, there's always that huge possibility, although I think they would have done it with Path of Fire, but something that would be more like a mummy archetype, or, you know, like that draws on that kind of specific inspiration and undead kind of as a source, or like wields some of those forces that we saw Joko wield. That's just like a little toss back. But I feel like if they're going to theme something culturally, it's probably going to be based off of the new expansion to feature it, right? So something that would be Canthan-esque, but at the same time, like we've been pointing out, I feel like they're kind of careful about how they do that. So I mean, we have seen like in that latest fractal with the elementalist that's fighting with the sword and stuff like that. There did feel like with her styling and things, maybe there were some more kind of Asian inspiration themes in there, but I don't know how hard they're going to lean into it with these new elite specs, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
They're culturally, that everyone has to be more culturally responsible and respectful now. Like they should have always been, but like everyone, like, because it's more at the forefront of everyone's minds now specifically, yeah. I think we're all probably pretty sure that that's something they try to do, or have been trying to do at least for a long time. They've definitely had to learn some lessons at times. I think a lot of people have, to be fair. It's exciting to think about. I mean, one thing we didn't think about with Thief was weapons. So if you're thinking like, about a ninja class, you know, Greatsword is a thing that could potentially come out. You know, that's kind of the obvious thing if you're gonna go for it, I guess. What other is there any other weapons and stuff that we're missing? What could a thief have?
Yeah,
in the other ones?
Sword.
Someone said shield in the chat. I thought it was kind of interesting.
I think Thief has gotten over the past they've gotten two-handers, and I think they've done that mostly because of all the mix and dual skills that come with you know, giving a thief either a main hand or an offhand. But I think like a dual axe would be fun, a dual mace. I would like to see more interactions with the dual skills themselves, rather than just kind of default to a two-hander.
Yeah, I would love dual axes because then you'd get like a bunch new dual skills. Dual mace seems like more something they would do if they're doing a Healy tanky kind of guy.
Yeah, I'd love to see them do
Maybe,
like
or just like bruiser stuff, tankiness.
Yeah,
I'd love to see them do like a dual set that like when you have those two equipped, and this might be a thing on some of the classes that I haven't necessarily played as much of. So please correct me if I'm just doofing and starting the game. But like I would love to see a dual set that doesn't just like take like half of the skill of one thing and half of the skill of the other thing. I'd love to see like something that really does, like you were saying, Kroof, almost like uses both of those to create like an interaction between them that then like gives you something new for them, like both.
That is what. So the thief the way it works is your main hand weapon is your first three skills, but not exactly, because the third skill changes depending on what your offhand weapon is.
And that's what they did with Weaver. They changed Weaver. That's what they brought. Then they brought that to Weaver in Path of Fire.
Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. To see it like on a larger scale with like all the skills or something. I don't know. That'd be tough, but
Yeah, if they added
Well,
2 new.
Once again, they did
single-handed
Weaver.
weapons-
They can do a couple more skills for Thief.
How many new skills would that be? If they did 2 new single-handed weapons, they'd get 1 extra double weapon there. Like it would probably be like
dagger,
20 new skills. or
dagger,
something.
offhand axe, main hand axe, offhand dagger. It's not as many, I don't think, as what Weaver ended up being.
Yeah.
So I think but it's still like probably around like maybe 10 extra skills or something.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not good at math. Don't quote me on that. But somewhere like around
there. Calculating.
You're like, I'm gonna crunch the numbers real quick.
Yeah, I mean it's literally just addition, but I'm still gonna look it up.
Sounds like a Leroy Jenkins kind of crunching numbers.
Leroy Jenkins.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things they could do with this. I mean, in my kind of, I don't know, perfect world, we would get new weapons for each of these classes. I know that's not going to happen. I know it's not going to be something like there are so many weapons that still need to be introduced to various like elite specs that are in the game that they can just do, right? So like for efficiency and their own sake, like if anything, I think we'll see maybe like 1 new weapon, maybe 2 if we're like wildly lucky, if even, you know, but it would be cool to see them put something completely different in, you know, like gosh, we were talking about like prayer slips or something like that, or I thought of like throwing daggers or something, you know, like something that would be, or like we were talking about with halberd or spear, you know, just something that would give a different sense. But again, then you have to look at it as like a whole category that could be applied to everything else, so it can't be like too niche. But like maybe we could get something that would be some kind of, I don't know, like a throne project. You know what I mean? That would be that could then get mapped to all sorts of stuff, to like cards, or it could have different appearances.
Yeah.
Something like that might be fun.
Core Warriors concept art had him holding a great axe. So guess what? Make it happen. There also is a bunch of art of people with land spears. And they always tease us with those art pieces.
So just to let you know, it won't actually be that many new dual skills. It's because you got
like I said, it's only about 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, you'd get 1, 2, 3,
very, very small.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, you get like 6 new skills.
I think Creeper is including the new weapon skills as well themselves, like other.
Yeah, so 10 total.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I think we're good. I think we're good because I am conscious of time. I want Creep to go and have a doctor's phone call with the focus on the doctor's phone call, because things like that are important.
So much fun.
And Boots has got to do a thing, and we've had. I think we're only going to do 3 classes this week. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to try and do a longer show. And fit in 4 hopefully, and then the next one, I guess if I look at like calendar wise, 2 weeks is the 9th of July, and then
guys,
you've got
it's
the
almost
23rd.
time.
So I've got to fit in all the other classes in the next 2 shows. So the next show may be long.
Easy.
And we could have easily gone further longer today. We could have talked about one class today. Is there anything else you want to quickly mention before we go? We've got like 5 minutes.
I would just like to say that I am very I like the fact that Kroof and I were basically on the same page with every single thing.
Psychically linked.
And I also wanted to say that Rook's theme ideas were so good. Like so inventive, and I love them. And Jebro, thanks a lot for shitting on my idea. Okay, that's about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Group's gone.
Group's like, bye, see ya, peace out.
There's too much heat in this kitchen.
The only reason I just don't like AI stuff. So that was the start of that. But I like the idea of taking over something and actually having control of that thing. Yeah, I feel like my imagination and creativity today has I feel like sometimes with Guild Wars 2 I'm trying to think about I definitely love, this is the thing about my imagination, my creativity, it's endless. But I think sometimes when it comes to the game and when I'm thinking about PvP as well, I'm like always trying to think about stuff I would not like to see in that mode. and because that's my main thing, right? So I'm like, you know,
doctor's calling.
oh shit.
Okay, good luck.
Go if you need.
Okay, well, thank you all.
All
My
right,
name
no
is
worries.
Proof.
Yeah.
Well, this will be fun. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Bye, crew.
Bye, crew.
All right, we're gonna do a little outro, but I'm gonna put it on the other screen because that's gonna be easier. We don't have to. There you go. Cams will be off because I can't. I'm not gonna fix it for the outro. But no, I really do like. As jokes aside, like I think everyone's idea is very, very good. I'm mainly here to listen to you guys and what you're talking about, and I'll offer some things and bits and bobs, but I'm sometimes the voice of reason, also sometimes in trying to encourage people to just think about whatever the hell they want. And, you know, hopefully we will see some new stuff which we've never even thought about before. And, you know, we're just going to go completely out there. If we have a medium, I would love it. You know, that would be awesome. It's a good idea. If we control minions and like control people, that would be very, very cool. If we have, you know, a ninja or a swashbuckling pirate spec for Thief, I'm there for it. It's going to be awesome.
When Rook said, she just said it for a second, and I think we moved on to other things, but when she said channeling the disasters of Tyria, like the flames of Ascalon and stuff, I was just like, you should be writing for things. You should
They'll be elementalists. I adore this because I will be the first person to say, like, this group of people, Jeb, you included, can I please just put you in there? You're like, I'm here to listen. But you have such a great perspective on this too. And even if it is just fundamentally saying, like, from the perspective of players in this content, this would suck. That's important. Like, it's important to be able to say that, but you also have great ideas. And oh my gosh, like every time Boots and Kroof, I listen to either of you talk about like theory crafting or like all of the like little nitty gritty things of every skill and all of the builds you've done, I sit over here because I'm very much more of, I think, that conceptual person, right? Like I love tearing into themes and design and inspiration and like those components, and you both have great insights on that too. But like, gosh, your technical knowledge of this game just constantly astounds me and inspires me to learn more. And like, Jeb, I feel like you're such a great intermediary between that because you have so much knowledge in so many realms and a great imagination to pair with it. So it's so fun to get to do these talks and to even like theorize about it because there's a lot of neat things they'll do and they're so creative. I have no doubt they will pull it off, but it's fun to get to talk together about it with all our knowledge.
That's why it's important to have different kinds of good medium. You have to have different points of view because you have to kind of, it's good to have the extreme like, oh, I want this thing, but then it's good to be brought back to a place where, is this going to be possible? And then what can we do which is possible, which other things where, you know, they can do it, or it's something in the game already and they can maybe, you know, work on that a little bit, but then obviously they can bring something in that's completely different and new because we see it all the time. Okay, so Boots, what do you do? Where do you do it? Tell us all the things. Sell yourself.
Make some videos on YouTube at World of Enders is the YouTube channel. Also, you can probably find me on Twitter at World of Enders as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming again.
No problem.
Appreciate it, my friend. Like I said, probably I'm gonna see if we can get the same people, or maybe it just depends on schedules and stuff. We'll see what happens. Because it would be fun to see where we go in this conversation. Rook, awesome to have you back again. Tell us about all the stuff, where you do it. Tell yourself, go.
Thanks so much. I have an accompanying siren to really help drive home that this is urgent, that you know where I am on the internet. Thank you, City of Chicago. So you can find me on Twitch, Bird of Chess. You can find me YouTube, same thing. We've just been getting into YouTube and that's been great. Can't wait to keep expanding. You can find me on Twitter, Bird of Chess. You can find me just about everywhere, Bird of Chess. And we are always excited to see new people and get to talk. And I love being on these casts. So thank you again for having me back, Jeb, even though I make your life difficult and make silly jokes.
It's okay. It's all good. I'm just having a laugh. Having a laugh. It's all good. Thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to check in. There you go. Don't forget to check out all my stuff as well. Twitch.tv/JebroUnity, where this podcast is every 2 weeks. I had a break. We just had a 1 week break about a month ago-ish. But it's fairly solid every 2 weeks. A Loads of people are loving it. Loads of people are coming in to the channel and they're talking about it everywhere in the Guild Wars 2 community. So I appreciate it very much. For listening, go and check out the things. Come and join us. I'm streaming a lot on Twitch. I'm also in school, so bear with me at times. It's a very, very busy life. Make sure you go and check out all the people. Kroof Gaming is their Twitch channel. You can look up Kroof Guild GW2, Kroof Guild Wars 2 as well on Google or wherever, and you will come across all of Kroof's awesome work as well. So just making sure I do that. It's Kroof Gaming's _ is their Twitch TV channel. So much appreciate if you can go and follow them. Otherwise, from myself and our guests, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with episode 17, where we're going to be talking about probably, I'm saving Engineer till last, probably Ellie and some other classes. I don't know which ones.
And also possibly the Habs will have won the Stanley Cup by then.
There you go. Otherwise, you can't wave. I mean, you can wave if you want. You can just be waving to each other. But thank you everyone for watching. And see you next time on the Lightbringers. Episode 16 done. We talked about Thief. We talked about Necromancer. We talked about Guardian, Elite Specializations, and End of Dragons. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. And see you out there. Whether or not you're listening, watching, or anything else, appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.